Good morning, everybody. We are live here on the right side of campus. Today is Memorial Day, 2018, May 28th. I'm the big man on campus. Here with Donnie Rightside. Donnie, how you doing?
Doing good. Nice Monday. Hey, look, a lot of the country has the day off today, Jeff. Celebrate Memorial Day, getting the cookouts out there, remembering what Memorial Day is there for, the people that came ahead of you, fought for this good country out there, for the reason that we have this country today, obviously, Jeff. And to this country, Jeff, for gambling purposes, we're going to use this day on Sportsbook Review to pay extra attention to Major League Baseball, as it's all day long.
Yep, we'll take a look at that. I thought you were hosting the show, Donnie. You can host it. You're the big host today. It's like a Saturday show, Donnie. We're going to give plenty of baseball info to the people out there. So sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, no, we'll have a lot of fun today. A lot of stuff to go over. And, quick short thing on the right-hand side. You see, obviously, the good people of Intertops out there. We are promoting that sports book this week. So check out the interface at Intertops there. Quick, sleek, effective, fast, great odds, fast payouts. The promoted book of the week this week for sportsbookreview.com is Intertops, folk. Jeff, Monday on the card here, but we do go over morning headlines each and every day. There's only one headline out there that we need to go over. The single greatest athlete, any sport, anytime in the face of this earth, Jeff, throughout humanity, LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else you need to say about the guy. I mean, we've said it time and time again here. We seem like we're the fan club of this guy in Philadelphia. I don't know what else you got to say about LeBron James. I mean, I don't know what else he has to do. And if last night didn't prove it, what we already knew, I don't know what to tell you. I think at this point you're really just a hater, and you know we're never gonna fix you. Yet still people were whining about him last night. I mean, what else does he need to do as a basketball player? I mean, what else does he need to do, especially with this team? This is not a good basketball team if he's not on it. They're a lottery pick kind of team. They're not any good. And last night they didn't have Kevin Love, who, if they have a semblance of a basketball team, it's because they have him as well. He's been a very important part of this team throughout the playoffs. It means Jeff Green had to start. Jeff Green's not a starter in this league. I know many people think he is, but he isn't. The lure of LeBron James has continued. If this playoffs hasn't made him the best player to you, I don't know what is. You're just, like I said, a guy that just wants to find a way to hate. There's always that person out there, Donnie. I've said it before. I mean, you could cure cancer, someone will find a way to whine about it. That's just how we are as a society now. But LeBron's the best. He's always going to be the best. And until someone takes him off that perch, I remember a couple weeks ago, Donnie, when the playoffs started. Oh, there's no way LeBron's going to do it. I think I even said it. We all said it. I don't think anyone thought this team would do it, even with how good LeBron was. It was hard to think that they were still going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals and then beat the whoever the team was to get into the the NBA Finals. But here again, 8 straight times we're here. Listen, I'll say it the last time. If you're hating on LeBron still, you're just a hater, and that's never going to go away.
I don't think anybody hates on him really anymore. I mean, that's old news
No,
back in, before he won
there
a
are a lot of
title at
people
this
that
point.
do.
I think the only hate comes from that older head generation, or sneaker heads, that don't know much about the game of basketball throughout time. Jordan was an unbelievable flat out athlete. Jordan is the second best player to ever walk this earth that played professional basketball. LeBron James is number one. He has all the stats. They don't give me the rings. Jordan played, you can't compare eras either. I mean, that's the one thing overload that you're going to do. Well, how would he do in this NBA? How would he do in that NBA? What LeBron James does night in and night out, and we have to remember this, remind ourselves again, Jeff, his career's not over. He's probably going to play another 5 to 6 years and shatter every single record book to make nothing attainable anymore for the next generation coming up. Like, who's going to want to come behind LeBron James and take the baton from LeBron James? Is it even possible? Like, you're going to wear 23 or wear number 6 and say, LeBron James is going to follow in his footsteps. What footsteps can he even follow in at this point? He's going to put every single statistical category out of whack for the next, 100 years?
Yeah, listen, Donnie, there are still a lot of people that hate LeBron. I make the comments all the time that if you hate on him, you're just an idiot. And I get people, well, his attitude's no good, and this is he
How's that? He's the perfect
complains.
human.
Like,
How does his
listen,
attitude? I mean, is there a better
listen,
father
Donnie,
figure? Is there a better businessman? Is there a better NBA
Donnie,
guy? The only
Donnie,
hate is coming from the Jordan
you're
crowd. That's it. That's done.
you're call. Yeah, but you know what's interesting, Donnie? The people that are calling him out, they weren't even alive for Jordan. These are young kids and stuff. I don't know where. I guess they don't like LeBron, so they make it a point to just hate on. I hear you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think he's the greatest, but there are these people that still hate on the guy, and you know I don't get it. I do think who is it? Anthony. Anthony makes a good point. He didn't agree with you here, but they did score 70. What did they score? 79 points. I don't think the Celtics helped themselves. But listen, Anthony, I think you're all wrong here. I mean, LeBron's been amazing the whole playoffs. I mean, you're calling one game. Um, who cares about one game? Without LeBron, they're nowhere near the playoffs. They're nowhere near anywhere. Um, you know, I don't know what else to say. I'm sick of talking about it, really.
Yeah, no, I never get sick of talking about it because he keeps popping up every single night. Like, when does it end for the guy? Like, the single most clutch player in NBA history. Put him in a game seven. He's going to drop 35, 40, 45 points and triple doubles every single time you put him in that. And again, carrying who, Jeff? Not a single all-star on that roster last night. Didn't have Kevin Love for game, essentially two elimination games in game six and game seven. And he clearly dominates in that environment. It's fun. It's just fun to watch. And, when he's gone, we're not going to be able to watch it anymore. So you just got to sit back and enjoy the greatness of LeBron James.
Anthony, no one said he's great. Anthony, do you watch the show every day? We come on here every day and talk about how great
And
LeBron
he
is.
is going to lose in the finals.
Right.
Yes, he is going to get beat in the finals. There's no question. LeBron is not winning the finals this year. He's not. He's just not going to.
I mean, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Anthony. I mean, we've been in here every day talking about LeBron. Donnie's talked about it. I've talked about it. He's been very clutch lately. Yeah, he has been. So I'm not sure what LeBron you're watching, man, but I guess we're just all missing the one you're watching.
Nah, he's just got some shoes out there. But there's no single more clutch player. I mean, Jeff, what, 6 straight game 7 victories? And his average points are over 40 points in those game sevens? Jesus, my goodness.
Yeah, impressive stuff.
Whew.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, man. He's the man. And I don't know where like I admit, like, when I think he first came into the league, I think a lot of people were, he has made some of the things he's done have been a little irritating. Like, some people hated him because of the decision stuff, and he's made some comments. But I look on the court. I mean, he's fantastic, and he's really become a great guy as far as a humanitarian and a donator, and a father. Everything he does has been great at this point. So yeah, I have nothing to say about it past that. Donnie, baseball card. Let's jump into it.
Yeah. All day long, folks. That's what we're going to go over today. Complete, even have a double header out there, Jeff, on Memorial Day. It feels like a Sunday. You're going to get 1 o'clock games, 4 o'clock, 7, all the way through to the nightcap there. You got the Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies out in the city of Los Angeles. So it'll be a lot of fun. We'll be able to get through some action, Jeff. We'll start right away, right up top. 901, 902, Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Montgomery versus Cool on the mound today. 60% of those early tickets, Jeff, coming in on the Pittsburgh Pirates. If we go over the numbers, opened up Chicago -120, -125 in that range. But now, since dipped back a little bit, Chris showing a -111, roughly a pick 'em out there. So looks like some of those numbers going in Cool's favor at this point versus Montgomery. If we take a look at some of the splits, if we're going to play in PNC ballpark out there, obviously not the greatest hitting ballpark, but it's always an interesting dynamic split because you're going from looking at Montgomery's numbers, Jeff, in the friendly confines of Wrigley, obviously a hitter's ballpark, now going over to more of a pitcher's ballpark. If we look at his away splits, Jeff, the lefties 247 FIP out there, 247 xFIP. Not many people getting by on the the left-hand side versus Montgomery. Righties, you could touch him up a little bit. 4.69 xFIP. If you look at Chad Kuhl out there, Jeff, 5.77, 3.66 split on his FIPs out there. So, but again, you're talking about a ballpark that's not so much hitter friendly. Over under this one, Jeff, 9 across the board.
Yeah, Mike Montgomery making a start here for Yu Darvish, who's on the DL. Montgomery's been in the bullpen. It's always a concern when you bring a guy that's pitched in the bullpen's done a nice job. Now you got to bring him up. That's always kind of something I always like to generally go against. And if you look at the Pirates, that's something lefties are something they've been handling all year. You look at them; they're hitting 281 against lefties. They're at home here. I'm not a big Kuhl guy, but again, when you get a Montgomery making a start, I do think that's a concern. You're taking him out of his element, making him do. He has started before, but you go from starting to doing bullpen for a while. Now you got to go back to starting and go back to the bullpen. Just a concern for me. This line wasn't out when I did some of the research that I did, so I didn't really go into it too much, but with the success the Pirates have against lefties and Montgomery making a start kind of spot wise, that's not a good thing for me. I would lean towards the Pirates here.
Yeah, if we're taking a look, I mean, looking at some of these, splits going away. Chad Kuhl, 5.77, as we brought up the FIP, his XFIP 4.36. So he can be touched up from the left-hand side, Jeff. If we look at the rosters, or estimated rosters coming out today for the Cubs, you got lefty and Zobrist, Schwarber, Rizzo, Happ, and also Hayward in the lineup. So they're going to stack some lefties against Chad Kuhl to see if he can get in and out of those type environments. I don't really know about the actual, let's see, 46% humidity, 87 degrees, though, Jeff, in that game. When it's hot out there, that ball tends to travel.
Yeah, I mean, also you got to remember Cubs coming off the Sunday night game. They had to travel. Um, Listen, I wish this total was 8.5 because I'd probably go over the number. That 9 makes it a little bit more of a tough one. Kuhl's been a big time over pitcher this year. I'd expect the Cubs to get to him. Montgomery, I expect this to be like a 5-4ish type of game. Could even see a higher scoring one. So I lean Pirates, maybe over, but again, I didn't do a ton of research on this game. The other ones I'm good with.
Next up, Jeff, 903, 904. If you're into reading some false flags and some reverse line movement, this one is right up your alley right now. Damn near untouchable Jacob deGrom, 903, 904 versus Max Fried, one of those names that sometimes you have to do a quick double check to see if it's actually a real name or a prop name. 63%, Jeff, are back in the New York Mets. Here's the problem here. We open up at Pinnacle at 35. We open up at Chris at minus 140. Both of those lines down into the low minus 120s right now. And you say, what gives? Let's take a look at deGrom's numbers, Jeff, versus lefties, his splits. 2.46 FIP, 2.74 XFIP, off the charts, phenomenal. Nobody's touching him from the left-hand side. Then you take a look at the right-hand side, Jeff. XFIP 1.38 translates to a 2.3, his FIP is 1.38 translates to a 2.38 XFIP. Nobody's touching him from the right-hand side. So now you have good old Max Fried on the other side, barely in Major League Baseball, and that line is dipping down, Jeff. How about it?
Yeah, I mean, you like everything about the Mets until you figure out that they don't have a good lineup, and then you're kind of not interested. I mean, deGrom is fantastic. He's got 11 innings scoreless against the Braves this year. You detailed his complete success, but the problem with the Mets here is the lineup they put out on a regular basis is among the worst in baseball from a strict, writing it down on paper. It's not good. They've lost 5 of 6. They don't hit lefties. They're hitting 226 against lefties this year. I like everything about the Mets, but again, unfortunately, you have to score runs to win, and I'm never confident they can do so. Should they be able to hit Max Fried or Freed or whatever? They should. And Fried was, I believe, going to pitch last week, but his start got rained out, so now he's going to pitch today. He hasn't really pitched well in the bullpen for them. He's 0-2 with a 6 ERA and 4 appearances with the Braves this year. Coming up from AAA, Gwinnett. Listen, if the Mets can't score runs today, not really sure what to say about it. I think
Well,
this
they've
is
been
one where you
scoring.
back. Well, no, they've lost 5 of 6. They're not playing well, and generally they're the worst lineups in baseball. That's kind of my point. They don't score runs on a consistent basis, and they're hard to back. But you're right. I mean, they've scored 6, 7 last couple games. I would guess take them today, but you're right. The line is a concern.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely an interesting line. I mean, deGrom is damn near unhittable right now, so you're figuring you could scratch him in a hitter's ballpark off of the pitcher there. Looks like we have maybe some rain in the forecast, 74 degrees, high humidity there, but then it's down in hot Atlanta, so we'll see what takes place in that game. We'll move our attention, but again, it's just simple theory when you're looking at it. It gets a little bit nerve-wracking when you say, you know what, I'm getting deGrom against a tomato can out there, and he's minus 120. Just a little heads up for that one there. 9:05, 9:06, folks. 2:10 Eastern time start. We're going to have Weaver on the mound versus Suter. That is St. Louis and Milwaukee. 68% early ticket, Chef, coming in back in the Milwaukee Brewers in this one. Line opened up roughly a pick on Pinnacle, minus 109. Chris, minus 115. Actually favoring the St. Louis Cardinals in this one. Now down to like a minus 105 split line. So you have some good movement. And even though 68% of those tickets, folks, are lining up on the Milwaukee Brewers, over under is 9 across the board. Weaver splits their XFIP on the road, XFIP versus lefties, 4.55 versus righties, 3.56. So he's not been doing too bad work out there, Jeff. Suter can be had, but obviously he's a left-handed pitcher, but can be had from the left-hand side, an XFIP of 5.28. He's been a little bit better against righties with that XFIP of 3.65. And if you know anything about the lineups that are going to be putting out today, the Cardinals are going to go right-hand stack heavy, which actually should help Suter a little bit here based on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, his left-handed numbers, like you said, aren't good, but the
Yeah.
Cardinals aren't going to be able to really hurt him
Nope.
too much there. Milwaukee's won 16 of 23. They're playing great baseball. You ask yourself, what has Milwaukee been able to do to stymie other teams? It's not exactly been offense. They've been good at times, but they don't have an overpowering offense this year. It's really been their pitching staff. Opponents only hitting 226 against the Brewers. They have one of the best bullpens in the major leagues with Niebel and Hayter and Jeffries. They're very good on the back end, but um, you know, the lineup needs to step up a bit. And this is not a spot where I don't think they won't. I mean, Weaver's pitched pretty well lately, but right-handers are hitting 296 off Luke Weaver. So you would expect that most of this lineup will have some success today. And Suter, I don't think it's going to get tested here as far as what the Cardinals will do. So I lean Milwaukee. I think it's a pretty good play. I like the way they're playing right now. They're on fire. Pitching's been very good. They have the bullpen you can trust. I don't know that I necessarily trust St. Louis's bullpen. This could be one of those games where it's 3-2, 2-2, in the sixth, seventh inning, and that bullpen kind of keeps you in the game. I would lean with Milwaukee here.
Next up, Jeff, one of them, probably the two single most boring teams in Major League Baseball squaring up today, 907, 908, the Miami Marlins and the San Diego Padres. Going to be Smith and Lauer, two lefties, are going to come on the mound today. 55% are actually backing the hometown here. Padres at home with Lauer on the mound. Opened up roughly a pick 'em again, Jeff. 109, 115 splits. Now down about the same, minus 105. So you're getting some good two-way action there, even though 56% of those wagers are early coming in on the Padres. Over under across the board, Jeff, as I said, boring teams. That's going to be a 7 right now as it sits. Obviously not a hitter-friendly ballpark out there at Petco. If we take a look at some of the numbers, Caleb Smith versus lefty's been good, 2.x3 xFIP. He can be hit a little bit from the right-handed side, 4.05, lining up there for his xFIP. Lauer, who got me last week, Jeff, in a first 5-inning wager versus the Nationals versus Hellickson, ended up 1-1 in that game. They went on full game to lose 2-1, but he was pretty good in that ball game. But his expanded numbers don't look good from the left-handed side. He is a lefty. He can get punished. But from the right-hand side, also a FIP of 5.48 and also 4.45. Not a good pitcher, even though he did have a steady outing last time out, Jeff.
Yeah, this is a game, Donnie. I'm not going to be betting on. I don't have an opinion. I mean, you're flipping on pitchers, you're flipping on lineups. Uh, I mean, is there a keen edge here in this game? Any way you look at it, Miami. I have nothing on this one. I skipped it.
Yeah, I mean, Smith is the better pitcher than Lauer overall. I mean, as a young kid trying to find his way, Lauer from the Padres. But the whole problem is, Jeff, when you have a bad pitcher on the mound, you have to be able to expose him. Is that Marlins lineup going to expose anybody at this
Right.
point? No, that's what it all comes down
No,
to.
no. That's the thing. Other than like Real Muto and Boer, maybe Starling
Yeah,
Castro. There's not a
Dietrich every
lot.
once in a while. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You're right. No, you're right. Next up
yeah.
here,
It's a
Jeff, we'll
pass
keep it
game.
moving along. 410 on the West Coast, 909, 910. Cincinnati and Arizona. I know everybody gets excited when they see Homer Bailey on the mound versus Coke on the opposite side. 73%, Jeff, lining up on the Diamondbacks at home today. We all know what sort of offensive weaponry they like to put out, especially at home with the humidor. Seems to be dormant, to say the least. Minus 151, minus 150. It opens up across the board, Jeff. Now we're seeing some numbers come back towards Homer Bailey, Jeff, today, getting some of that love. Minus 132, minus 135, over under across the board at 9. Look, if you're betting Homer Bailey, I get it. You're betting just strictly on a fade of the opposite team, because Homer Bailey, each and every start, gives you absolutely no confidence that he can do nothing other than what? 4, 5, 6 innings, 4 or 5 earned runs. You're looking at a score fest. I mean, his advanced numbers, 5.28 from the left-hand side. 5.51 from the left-hand side, 5.12 from the right-hand side. He gets obliterated left, right, bat, it doesn't matter. Rookie, old man, pinch hitter. They all get off on Homer Bailey. Then looking at Coke from the opposite side, his advanced numbers are trash as well. 4.31 from the left-hand side, 5.52 from the right-hand side. It's all a matter of who's going to bring the bats today. Both these pitchers in that humidor environment, maybe they get saved a little bit, Jeff, but even if you're looking at 9, a dormant offense on Arizona, you can wake up at any moment against Homer Bailey.
Right, and I think the line move. We see this always with Homer Bailey starts. Sharp betters back him for some reason. They don't really ever have success doing it, but they keep doing it. And look, we know Arizona 213 this year as a club, only hitting Donnie 197 against right-handed pitchers. It's really been a long season for this Arizona team offensively, and you have to wonder, will they ever get it figured out? This is the kind of guy you get it figured out against. Homer Bailey's 1-10. They are when he starts this year. Right-hander hitting 328. He has a 6.21 ERA with a 1.7 WHIP. I mean, there's nothing more to not like about Homer Bailey. He's just poor. And you look at Matt Koch. I want to make this very clear. Matt Koch has had one bad start, and it was against Milwaukee. He gave up 8 runs over 4 innings, but the other starts have been fairly effective. He's only pitched about, I don't know, 6 other times, but I think he's been fairly good. I don't know how, if you're not looking at this game, I was liking the line way more at 150 because it almost made it clear to me like Arizona's the side here. As bad as they played, as bad as their offense has been, they only have Matt Koch on the hill. They're the play here against Homer Bailey, regardless. They don't want money on it. They don't, no one's, Donnie, most bettors aren't going to lay 150 with Arizona because they see, like what you just said about humidors and, their offense stinks. Now that it's moved down, I'll still say I like Arizona. I'm not interested in Homer Bailey, and I think if Arizona's going to get figured out, it'd be today. But if you're going into games thinking Arizona's going to get figured out, you're going to have a long season betting on them.
Yeah, I mean, you're more. I mean, usually, obviously, yesterday, which hurt me, Cincinnati's unreliable offense. That's usually reliable there. The one thing you can lean on Cincinnati, Jeff. The thing I don't like about Cincinnati when you bet their games, you can rely on shit starting pitching 90% of the time. You can rely on some guys with power. They're going to get around, move it around on the base path, score some runs, and then an ultra shitty bullpen. So it usually lines up well. But again, Jeff, the factor you have to always get in there is are the Yankees facing the Reds today, where they're just going to come at you 1 through 9 and beat your brains in, or are you going to have that Arizona team in the humidor that if you just pitch around Paul Goldschmidt, even though he's struggling, who else can hurt you in that lineup? Daniel Descalso, Keto Marte?
Right, exactly. I've talked about that. There's no JD Martinez anymore. There's no Pollock. There's no Brandon Drury. There's no, there's none of those guys. And Goldschmidt is awful this year. Jim Bean saying he has good numbers against Arizona historically. I mean, he's pitched against them 1 time since 2016. So there's not a lot of. I wouldn't use that as a big real, kind of starting
Now,
point
Jeff,
there.
looking at Arizona here, do you think there's a deeper ploy out there? Goldschmidt coming up free agency. Let's drop the humidor in here. Let's drop your value from 225 million down to 150 million. We'll sacrifice 1 year. Any of the forward thinking Arizona team putting the humidor in on purpose?
I mean, I guess if they want to save a little money, that's a good idea. But I don't think. I don't think they're doing that. I would hope not. But yeah, Goldschmidt. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, he's hitting 203. And the shame about Goldschmidt is he didn't really get a lot of respect to begin with. Even though Paul Goldschmidt was historically always very good, it never seemed like anyone listed him with some of the greats. He was always great. We knew it, and you knew it. But this is hurting him a lot because now no one gives a shit about him because he's not doing well at all. Yeah, it's been a tough year for Arizona. Yet, you look at their record. What is their record, Donnie? I think they're still over 500. Uh,
They
26 and
probably after
26.
that. Yeah, after that a good start, come crashing down to earth at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a tough one.
9/11, 9/12. We'll go to Colorado again today, Jeff. Nice little night game action today. 7:10 Eastern time start. San Francisco, Colorado. Suarez versus Bettis. The lefty Suarez on the mound. Bettis at home. Looks like Jeff here got some good movement. 26% of the wagers coming in on the San Francisco Giants. If we take a look at some line movement, Jeff, Bettis opens up as a 140 favorite, 150 favorite to Chris. Now we're looking at -117, -116 across the board. Some reverse line movement going the opposite direction here. Over under course, typical 11.5. Yesterday it was 12.5, 12, depending on where you're shopping at. So obviously runs are usually in the equation if you can just make contact up there in Colorado. Suarez on the road, Suarez overall, not bad numbers. 3.07 xFIP, 3.73, but you got to take that out a lot of the times, Jeff. I mean, you're going into Coors, so has he ever pitched in Coors? How's he going to hold up in Coors against a offensive team? If we're looking at Bettis there, his home numbers against right-handed batters, 5.26 at Coors. Again, it's hard to cap a side at Coors Field. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just want to flip a coin just to see what happens in that environment. But, 11.5, it seems doable to me. Seems doable any time at Coors.
Yeah, I'm going to dispel the rumor. Andrew Suarez blows. Like I bet on him a lot against him. I hate Andrew Suarez. Actually, I like him, but he's a bad pitcher. I've bet against him the last 3 or 4 starts. He can't get anyone out. I mean, right-handers hitting 345 against him. On the road, he's giving up a batting average of 382. He just doesn't get people out. He's been really poor. And I think in this situation, he's going to struggle. His first trip to Coors, he's got a bad bullpen behind him. He has a pretty good lineup, though, behind him, which you have to like if you like the over. San Francisco crush right-handed pitching. Bettis has had better success away from home as well, and that's a concern here. Bettis, opponents, when they face him at home, are hitting 317. His whip is high. Uh, Two bad pens, like I said. I'm looking over the number here.
Yeah, no, I mean it's Coors. So as long as you can get, if you get base runners on base, it's going to be opened up out there. We've seen crazier things to happen, and again, not the greatest bullpens on both sides. And again, it's Coors. And let's check. Got any weather checks out there, Jeff, on Coors? It's been hot pretty much all week out there. Let's see what we got today. Slide it up.
It's pretty nice. I mean, it's going to be scattered rain. I mean, you might see a little
Actually, only
rain at one point.
66 degrees today. Yeah, a little bit cooler today. It was up in the high 80s, low 90s over the weekend. So we'll see if that maybe cools off some runs out there. We'll see what takes place. We'll keep it going down the list here. Got about another half hour left in the show. We should be able to get through this card, 9-13, 9-14. Philadelphia Phillies and the Los Angeles Dodgers, Jeff. I actually think the Phillies are in a decent spot right here, despite losing 2 of 3 to Toronto and then going out to the West Coast. Velasquez is going to take the mound versus Stewart. About a 50-50 ticket split action. Cheap favorite open up for the Dodgers, 130, 140, depending on where you're shopping at. Now you're seeing that number. Chris at 119, bet online -121, sportsbook.ag at -121, 8 across the board. If you're taking a look at Velasquez, he could be hit a little bit from the left-handed side, Jeff. XFIP around 4. His FIP is at a 6.26 of actually what he has given up, so he can be touched up a little bit. Been very good versus righties. FIP is 1.82, a little bit higher, 3.40 is XFIP. Brock Stewart, laced from the left-hand side. You can put left-handed bats in the lineup. You can rake him. Also, not much of an improvement from the right-hand side, Jeff. I think the Phillies are live dog in this one.
Yeah, Donnie, I want to just say one thing about the Phillies, and I don't want to hurt your feelings here. I don't want to hurt any Philly fans' feelings, but look, outside of Dubal Herrera, this is a bad offense, man. They're not any good. They can't score runs. I don't want to get involved with the Phillies. I hate the Phillies. I hate everything about them from a betting perspective. I told you the other day, Donnie, I hate the Phillies. Nothing I ever do is enough for this fucking team. I bet on them. They can't score more than a run or two. They're just brutal to watch. And from a real standpoint, their lineup isn't good. I mean, they need to find a way because I think they have a good a sneaky little staff. They have some talent in that lineup. But Reese Hoskins has began to struggle. Scott Kingery really hasn't gotten much going to begin with. Santana has struggled. Altair has struggled. Nick or J.P. Crawford, all those guys, they need to kind of get going. And I would hope. I was surprised, Donnie, that they didn't look a little more towards some kind of bat other than Carlos Santana, maybe something to kind of help them in the lineup. Their lineup isn't good. You would agree with that, right? I mean, other than Herrera, there's not a lot there.
No, I think the lineup's actually decent overall hitting wise.
this
I mean, the
lineup's
guys
bad.
that usually produce haven't produced. I mean, you're looking at Santana; he's a grade A batter. Hoskins is a record-tying batter last
No,
year.
Donnie,
Obviously, going through a little bit of a sophomore slump.
I'm
What?
not talking about last year. I'm talking about this year. No one's hitting on this team. They're hitting 236. That's what I mean.
No, I mean,
Look,
I
you're
get
right.
it.
Santana's a good player. He always has been. And Reese Hoskins, we know what he can do. Scott Kingery is good down in AAA, but none of these guys are doing it right now, and that's kind of what I'm going with here. But I agree with you. I think they're a pretty good play today. Stewart. I just don't ever think the Dodgers are going to get going consistently at all. They're not a good offense either. So I think that's something that the Phillies have to work with here. And Velasquez is starting to pitch a bit better. He started to kind of get it going a little bit. He pitched well in his last road start at St. Louis. I agree with you here. I think we'll see how they do against Kershaw later in the week and others. But I think they have a decent start here against Brock Stewart.
Next up, Jeff, we'll head to the Bronx, 9:15, 9:16. Houston and the New York Yankees. Verlander on the mound versus Herman. 77%, Jeff, lining up to back Justin Verlander and those Houston Astros today in an afternoon tilt in the Bronx. If we take a look at some numbers across the board, again, here we go. 153 opens up at Pinnacle, Jeff. 160 at Chris. Now sitting at 126 at Pinnacle, 131 at Chris, 127 at BetOnline. Another game with a lot of reverse line movement lining up here for the New York Yankees. If you take a look at some numbers, I guess you're just going on the basis, Jeff, that you're just going to say, Well, Verlander's been unbelievable, and maybe this is a spot he can fall, so I'll put some money on the New York Yankees. He's been damn near unhittable. And then you're going up against Herman on the opposite side, Jeff, who we saw maybe a flash in the pan type couple starts, but he can be hit. And you're going up against one of the best hitting lineups out there, obviously, in the Houston Astros. Interesting line movement, Jeff. I guess, you just say, you know what? Very rare I get a Yankees price when they're at home, so you might as well jump on it. But that looks like what the betting public and sharps are looking at today.
That's a good point by you. There's really no feasible reason why you wouldn't back Verlander here. I guess you're thinking, oh well, Yankees are a good lineup, so they'll hit him. Justin Verlander's the best pitcher in the major leagues right now. There's no one that's pitching better. And Donnie, what's been quite amazing about Verlander is, do you remember like 3 years ago or so, around then when he was with Detroit? He wasn't good, frankly. I
Struggling
remember a
big
lot of
time.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of times when I remember people. He's a fade pitcher.
Remember the
It
hashtag?
was
Yeah,
just
hashtag fade Verlander every time he came
yeah,
up. Yep.
yeah. He's not any good. I think it was like his last season with Detroit, or one of his last seasons. I think it was
No, he
2016,
was
probably.
poor. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't good. And you look at the career like renaissance he's had and where he's gone to now. So he was really good, then he kind of tailed off, and now he's really good again. I mean, if you can find a pitcher better than Verlander, I'd like to hear it right now in baseball. The guy's just been absolutely fantastic. I know, other than yesterday, I had at the Houston Astros. I took them 4 straight days. I went 2-2. Yesterday was one of the rougher days as a better in baseball. That was a tough one, Donnie. They're losing the whole game. They tie. They go up 8-3. They blow it in the ninth. Then they regain the lead, blow it again. It was really asinine. And Donnie, that's a prime example yesterday of why you don't want your manager ejected. Because when he got ejected, it seemed like Joe Espada, and it's not surprising to me because Joe Espada was a complete dickhead, idiot when he was with the Yankees as his third base coach, and he's still a complete mug. He has no idea what he's doing. He was terrible yesterday as the assistant manager. They're putting players in. Joe Smith should have closed that game. I didn't want to see we saw in that game. It was 8-3. You should have put in a guy with weird kind of stuff that no one can generally hit at times. That's who you should have put in. You shouldn't have put in Ken Giles or whoever you put in. It wasn't a safe situation. It threw them all off, and now your bullpen screwed it, and you lost the game because of it. I'm all over the Yankees or the Houston Astros today. You look at Verlander, Donnie, in his last 24 innings against the Yankees, one earned run, 35 strikeouts. He's absolutely dominated them. And you look at Domingo Herman not pitching well. Last two starts, 6 walks over 8 2/3. He's given up 12 earned runs. I think the Astros get it going here today. I'd be all over them at this price.
All right, Jeff, keep it going, moving down the list. We'll stay in the AL East here. 9:17, 9:18, a 1 o'clock start. No Mookie Betts, folks. So get your DFS lineups out there. The man, the myth, the legend, Mookie Betts, will not be playing in this ball game today. If you're looking from a Yankees perspective, Giancarlo Stanton in the previous game we went over will not be in the lineup today. Sanchez and Price will be on the mound. Looks, man, steep numbers here. -183, -190 to open. Still hanging around that general territory, Jeff. Chris at -193. Bet online at -181. Sportsbook.ag close to 2-1, sitting at -195. 69% of the bets coming in on Boston. And it gets just a fade of Sanchez. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that guy. Lefty splits for him. You can rake him. Righty splits not that good as well. You're playing in a bandbox ballpark up there in Boston. David Price coming into the game, Jeff. Not the greatest season for him as well, but he's paying a hefty price. The one interesting thing, which you always think that you should be able to take care of, Jeff, from the Blue Jays side, is they can line up a lot of right-handed bats against you, but they seem to struggle when you're supposed to have the advantage with all the right-handed bats versus a lefty.
Toronto 229 against lefties this year, and they had not been able to hit David Price in their career or in his career, Donnie. Price 18-3 with a 2.45 ERA against Toronto in his career. He's pretty much dominated them. And I have to ask you, Donnie, if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, at what point are you going to bring up Vladimir Guerrero? I don't know what you're waiting on
Never.
here. Um, yeah, which makes sense. I mean, let's leave him down with the Fisher Cats of New Hampshire. By the way, the Fisher Cats also have Bo Bichette on their team. I'm not sure how they
Yep.
ever lose. It's kind of amazing. Randall Grichuk's on that team. I'm actually in July. I'm gonna go see him if he's still with them when they play the Reading, whatever the Reading team's name
Bills.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reading Phillies, right. I mean, Donnie, quickly, Guerrero, 431 this year he's hitting, 480 on base percentage, a 1.193 OPS. I mean, and he's only struck out 19 times. I mean, at what point are we going to go get Vlad
Yeah.
Guerrero? I mean, what are we
No, yeah,
waiting on
and
here?
it just it brings up that old caveat, the old point in Major League Baseball. It's sometimes the stupid because they don't like to market their stars as it is, right? Like Mike Trout is an outrageous guy out there, and he's in LA. But you see him on TV, Jeff, like what, once a week? Maybe, even if that, maybe some highlights on ESPN. But getting back to this point here, what sport, Jeff? Name me the single sport that it's beneficial to your team to keep your best young talent down to
Yeah,
try to save a year or two from free agency. It's
I don't know.
pure asinine. You ask any Toronto fan right now, we want to see this kid. No, we can't bring him up because he might be a free agent in 2025 instead of 2026. What an awful business model.
No, it is a really horrible. You're totally right. I mean, you bring up both these kids, Bichette and Guerrero, in your lineup. Now you got to worry about Toronto a little bit. I don't understand what you're waiting on. The kid would take the league by storm in a market that, frankly, look, I hate to say it, no one cares
Yeah,
about anymore.
because you want
Um,
Granderson in the outfield. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like he's going to do
right.
something. Come on, man, it's a joke.
Yeah, it's complete horseshit. By the way, David Price as well. Since he gave up Fortnite, Donnie, around May, early May, last three starts, he has been fantastic. 20 and a third. He's only given up 5 earned runs, and he's only given up 2 home runs. So listen, Fortnite seemed to be the issue for Price. He's fixed it. He's pitched well. Um, listen, I think the Red Sox kind of dumped today, but uh, that's my opinion.
Jeff, now do you think he actually gave up Fortnite or just had to change his screen name so nobody really knew it was him? Because just to go off cold, like can you imagine, like back in the day, like you like to play Call of Duty, Battlefield, whatever it
Yes.
was, or Madden. Like once you got addicted to it, you couldn't just put it down. It's the same thing with
No.
what we do out here, gambling and talking about gambling. If somebody came to me and was like, Donnie, your heart rate's a little bit high. You're gonna have to give up gambling. I'm like, cool, man. I'll just give it up. Like, no, I don't think that happens out there. I think he's still playing it, but I think he's getting it corrected somehow.
Yeah, listen. I don't think he's giving up anything. I just don't think he doesn't play in the clubhouse anymore. He probably plays all night. And I remember Donnie when I was a kid. My brother was like,
Yep.
he loved video games. He was 4 years younger
Yep.
than me, and I remember I would
Yep.
go in his room at I don't know 8, 9 o'clock at night. He'd be playing. I'd wake up 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. He's still playing. I come back in the afternoon on like in a summer day. Dude, you're still playing this game? Yeah, I'm trying to beat it. I said, dude, you've been playing this since last night. I know. I'm trying to beat. I mean, these kids. I thought we were talking about a kid here, but we're not. We're talking about a grown individual. But yeah, look, he seemed to pitch better, so I guess he's giving it up maybe.
Jeff, the next game actually has my attention on a couple different levels that we'll go over right now, and that is 9-19, 9-20. That's going to be Skaggs and Boyd, two lefties lining up on the mound today. 65% of the early tickets, Jeff, coming in on the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Opened up at minus 145 as a road favorite, Jeff. We're now into the mid 160s. And a lot of people might take that and say, you know what? Angels got a good hitting lineup. They got Mike Trout, but don't forget about Skaggs on the mound and what he's done this year, Jeff. XFIP numbers from the left-hand side, 2.99. That is phenomenal. From the right-hand side, a little bit higher, but still right on par, being averaged to a little bit below, a little bit above average, 3.79. He's pitched well. And the one thing that you like, if you're going to match up, lefties on righties, we know the Angels can throw a lot of right-handed bats at you. Matt Boyd, Jeff, XFIP numbers to right-handers, 4.89. He can be touched a little bit. Sometimes you look at these lines, Jeff. I know you had one a couple weeks back. I believe it was maybe Lance Lynn and
Yeah.
the Twins, where he just shows and says, I'm going to lay Skaggs on the road at almost 170. No way I'm doing that. Look deeper into these numbers. They make sense.
Right, and I think it's hard to do it. I actually looked at this game. This is one of the toughest ones I thought. But I'll tell you what, LA's been very good on the road, 17-6, scoring 6 runs a game at 282. But Donnie, you look at against left-handed pitching, only 244. That is a bit of a concern here for me. Detroit, we know, very good against lefties, very good during the day. The one concern I have is Matt Boyd. I've discussed his regression. I think it's coming. I think it's already here. He got roughed up in his last outing. I think he'd get roughed up today. I think if you like Skaggs, that means you think the Angels are going to hit, and that means you think they're going to score runs. I think the Tigers will put up a couple as well. I kind of like the total in this game over the number, but this was a tough game for me. I thought I was kind of trying to find ways to back this, but Donnie, I'll tell you what, the difference between this one and the Lance Lynn game is Lance Lynn was terrible, and he was laying 160. Skaggs has been pretty good, and he's laying 160. So I don't know. It's a tough one. This was a real toss up for me.
Yeah, I watched a lot of these. Had a couple bets on the Chicago White Sox Detroit series. The one thing I'm waiting for, obviously, you're waiting for Miggy to get back in that lineup, but Candelario has been unbelievable out of the 3 spot there. So they do have some talent on that team once it gets going. V-Mark can find a little bit of fountain of youth and get a little bit healthy there. Their pitching's not really going to hold up, and neither is their bullpen. And the reason I'm saying that is, down the line, if Miggy can get back to, an all-star type level, that then it becomes a formidable offense. Looking at some numbers, not quite there because I know, Jeff, when we look at the Goodrums, Hicks, McCann, Iglesias, and Victor Reyes as your 6 through 9, it doesn't help you out a lot because you better get to them in those first 5 batters because usually those last couple are layups there out there. But it's an interesting line to look at overall. 65% of tickets coming in, but line moving in the right direction. I've liked Skaggs and have bet him a few times this year, and has worked out really well. Going out to the West Coast, Jeff, why don't we stay there? 9:21, 9:22, 4 o'clock start Eastern time. Tampa Bay is going to suit up against the Oakland Athletics. 52% of the early tickets, Jeff, coming in on the Oakland Athletics in this one. Over-under this one opened up at 7.5, Jeff, but has since moved to 8 at most outlets out there. Archer versus Cahill on the mound. Archer right now giving it up versus left-handed batters, Jeff. 520 FIP, 4.82 xFIP. Look at Cahill, Jeff, shutting it down versus left-handed batters. Decent, to say the least, against right-handed batters. Big ballpark out there. Again, with a lot of these Oakland games, it seems like coming up, Jeff, leaning on the under in this one here.
Great point, Donnie. Go ahead and take it. I have no opinion on this one. I don't bet Oakland generally. I'm not a big Rays guy. I lean your total, Donnie. Go ahead and break that down. Take it.
Yeah, no, I like the Oakland bats, don't get me wrong, but it's a big hitting environment. We've seen some, activity there for Archer that can hold you down. Cahill, that sneaky batter, and there's not a lot of pop overall in that Tampa Bay lineup, taking a plane ride out, going out to Oakland. I just would lean under this. I'm not going to say I'm going to take it or I love it, but just looking overall, if you can get me an 8 out there, I would just lean under in this game and see what turns out. But I do think, maybe Tampa Bay is sneaky play at this level because you're looking at, Jeff, again, you're just waking up, oh my God, Chris Archer, look how good he's been in the past. Catching a plus, 125 versus the Oakland Athletics. An interesting number there. But as we say, Jeff, the number's there for a reason, right?
Exactly.
All right, keep it moving down. 9:23, 9:24. The White Sox and the Indians. Covey and Plutko on the mound. 75% backing the Cleveland Indians. The Bats have awoken there in Cleveland. We'll see if that can continue today. And how about this, Jeff? Plutko on the mound at a cheap price, Jeff, of a -185. Now, we know Chicago White Sox are a bad ball club out there, but if we're taking a look at some numbers, Covey hittable versus lefties there, but he's been really good versus right-handed bats out there. Plutko, not the greatest pitcher. He can be touched up by lefties, but it just makes me laugh when I see guys like Plutko going out there with a super shit bullpen for the Indians and them laying 190.
And this is the kind of spot that the Indians have struggled with for a long time, dating back to last year, laying big numbers with not particularly good pitchers on the mound, laying a big number. Listen, I would just take a flyer on the White Sox probably just because, look, I don't hate Covey. I don't hate their lineup. They've actually hit pretty well lately. I don't have much to say other than I would just take a flyer on the White Sox because the Indians have shown time and time again that they are not to be trusted with numbers like this. They've been pretty good though at home this year, but I'm not willing to lay 185 with them. I'm not ever willing to lay 185. I'm not willing to lay a run line with them just because they won a crazy game yesterday. Is not it doesn't take away from the fact, Donnie, that they have an absolutely horrific bullpen. And they aren't consistent. I mean, you can make the case that they have the worst bullpen in the majors. I mean, they're really horrendous any way you look at it. And yesterday, they just happened to get lucky because the team they're playing, they gave it up also.
No, you're right about it. But you bring up a good point, Jeff. Again, the White Sox, a lot of these, environments that you look at trying to bet teams. The one thing I'm a little bit down on the White Sox now is I did take them. They did hit an over for me on Saturday. But looking at their lineup, it just seemed like they're awful 6 through 9. Narvaez, Engel, Tilson, and Thompson. They're 4 automatic outs. But you got to keep in mind and keep remembering what's taking place here. You lose Beef Wellington out there for the season with 80 games. He was a competent hitter. You also can't get Davidson for some reason back in the lineup, a neck injury or whatever he has, and also Luis Garcia. If you put all of those guys in that lineup there, that's a pretty formidable, decent hitting lineup because you have Moncada, Sanchez, Abreu. Even Polka's had a good season, and Anderson has come out of nowhere, it seems like, and has had a great year. And then you couple it, Jeff, with a bad bullpen and typically bad starting pitching. There are always things that you like to take a look at down the line. But right now, they're just taking, seems like, Jeff, dings every day just to try to get lineups in there. And you know as well as I do, if you're betting totals and you're looking at overs, 6, 7, 8, and 9 when they're automatic outs, that doesn't help too well. So we'll speed it up here. A couple minutes left here in the show. We'll pick out a couple games here heading down. I know, Jeff, you wanted to get to this game, 9:29, 9:30. Gio Gonzalez going to take the mound here in Baltimore versus Alex Cobb, basically a batting practice pitcher at this point. Line opens up at 150, 155, Jeff. But let's play into the Gio Gonzalez narrative here, right? Every time Gio Gonzalez opens up as a favorite, it is clockwork. They get a chunk taken out of him, and he drops into the 130s. Amazing, Jeff. Amazing.
Yeah, people don't trust Gio Gonzalez, and these sharp bettors don't trust him for some reason. I don't know that I understand. I mean, other than Max Scherzer, and look, it's Max Scherzer. Other than Max Scherzer, I'm not sure you can get a more constant pitcher than Gio Gonzalez on this team. This guy's been absolutely fantastic. He doesn't give up home runs. His numbers have been absolutely sparkling. Washington is much better on the road than really anywhere else. They're scoring over 5 runs a game, and they're facing a guy in Alex Cobb who has no business right now at this level. Alex Cobb stinks. He's been getting absolutely crushed. And you look at what on earth that Astros can do today. Hey, Donnie, they can throw out 8 different left-handers. They can look down their lineup and say, "Oh, Bryce Harper's a left-hander. All these different guys are left-handers. We could throw them at Alex Cobb because we know against left-handers, Alex Cobb, Donnie, 452 batting average for opponents. He's getting absolutely crushed from the left-handed side. I don't have any reason to not back Washington. The line movement doesn't matter to me at all because they always bet Gio down. This is the best play on the board. I'm on Washington minus 130. Rack it up. Also, Donnie, when Alex Cobb starts, Baltimore Orioles 1-7. Pretty poor bullpen behind him. Give me the Nats minus 1.
Yeah, the Nats offense pisses me off quite a bit here, but now you're going to get into the the American League, so you should be able to line up. Now, when you're looking just theoretically at the game, you're looking at an over-under of 9. You're saying, you know what? It's an American League ballpark. They tend to hit very well regardless at home, the Baltimore Orioles typically. And if you're going to say Gio Gonzalez is a lefty, they're going to line 9 right-handed batters up against Gio Gonzalez today. If we take a look at those splits there, that's the one side you get. Lefty, Jeff, forget about it. Gio Gonzalez, he's sitting you down. You might as well not even have a lefty in the lineup. 4.22 xFIP to right-handed batters. So theoretically, you should get some runs, again, just because it's an American League ballpark, all right-handed batters. And then looking from the left-handed side, Jeff, you got Harper's a lefty, Adams a lefty, Soto a lefty, and Defoe as a lefty. They're going to be in that lineup going against Alex Cobb today. The only thing that pisses me off a little bit when you look at it, that lineup can be a lot stronger for Washington. I mean, Spencer Keyboom's in the lineup out of the 9-hole today, Jeff, should provide a ton of power in that environment. But I'm going to look a little bit more and dig in deeper to this over because I think Washington, is there any reason, Jeff, Washington can't get a 6 spot today in an American League ballpark versus Alex Cobb?
No, there isn't. And I'm just, Donnie, I'm trying to understand Chelsea Blues comment. Okay, Chelsea Blues. Yeah, we're all interested. Why don't you just let us know what we can bet with you? We're all interested. We've never talked to you in our lives. We don't know who you are. Yeah, we're all looking for a local. We're on Sportsbook Review in needs of locals, Chelsea Blues. Great place to come and promote your business. I don't know if it's the best idea, though. Right. Are you looking for a local book, Donnie? Chelsea Blues is there for you.
Yeah, Jeff, we're always looking for local books, right? I mean, according to most people in my family, I already am a local book for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was at that wedding, oh, Jeff, I heard you're a bookmaker. Congratulations.
Yeah,
No.
my mother-in-law was getting her hair done on Saturday, Jeff, and struck up a conversation on what my wife does, what I do, and she came home and said, yeah, for a while, actually, I had to change it because I told him that you were a bookie at times. Like, yeah, most people think I'm a bookie. I sit at home. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Donnie, before we end the show, I don't know how much, I think we
Yep.
have to wrap it up here.
No,
in
we
about a
got 1
but
minute. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know there was another show today. I'm always thinking that everyone has Memorial Day, so I kind of forget. But Golden State, Houston,
Yep.
listen, Donnie, I mean, do we really think Houston without Chris Paul's beating Golden State? I don't think it's going
I
to
don't.
happen. As far as laying the number, I don't really want to do that in a game 7. I think Golden State will win. How you end up doing that is your own business. Let's get to the finals here and let's get it going on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, Golden State Cleveland. I don't mind seeing it for another time, Donnie, as they say. We'll wrap it up here. Thanks everyone for joining us. Whenever the most of the baseball card here today. My play of the day is on the Nationals, 1:30. Everyone enjoy Memorial Day. Memorial Day. Be safe and enjoy it. We'll be back Tuesday with another edition of the Right Side of Camp. Bye bye.